remember years ago, 4 or 5, no, this is a bit longer than that. I mean, 8 years ago, TSYS went down over a 3-day weekend. And it wasn't settling merchants' funds. And I'm going,
and they didn't know
what did they do with that? What, billions? Maybe, at least billions. I was going to say got up to trillion, but maybe not. What did they do with that money? You know, if you just even put it in a little pile over here that got interest all of a sudden over the weekend. And I'm going, well, you know, if I'm a merchant, I didn't get my settlement over the 3-day weekend. Like, you know, I'm going to be drinking Coors Light instead of what's better than Coors Light? Nothing, I guess. So I have to drink Natty Light now this holiday weekend.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah,
Busch Light Draft.
Yeah.
I like Busch Light Draft.
I like Busch Light Draft too, actually. The other one was when TSYS, this is over a decade ago, but they actually built a new system and they migrated the data over allegedly. And then they lost a bunch of the data.
Yeah, they lost all the tokens and everything.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So all your recurring payments.
Yeah, it all got shut off. And this was over a decade ago.
Somebody fell asleep on the delete button and slipped a finger.
Maybe, who knows?
Welcome to the Payments Experts Podcast, a podcast of Global Legal Law Firm. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Yeah, and it's kind of like this crazy resetting. And look, I know that in certain respects, like some processors who own debit networks, when interchange would be altered, they didn't necessarily build the grids to do a feed through of all network fees that were literally debit interchange through. So they would just do this here, we'll pop all these in and then there'll be a line item fee which would tie back to these, maybe, right? Or they just wouldn't pass them through or whatever they're doing. I don't really know. But then all of a sudden when you have an issue, it comes up that, oh yeah, we haven't been passing through these fees. Yeah.
I mean, the debit routing is a humongous issue that needs to stop. So there's a processor that owns debit networks and they are the 2 most expensive debit networks. And they push all the transactions through their networks and they go, pass-through fees. And so the merchant gets charged it. The ISOs don't share in it because they don't have an agreement. And the agents don't share in it and they're pocketing it. And we'll see it a lot of times is, you know, you'll refer it over to the processor and they'll agree to pricing and they'll even be like, oh, the merchant complained. They'll drop the pricing to 0. Or razor thin margin so that the ISO is getting something, but they're pocketing it over here on the debit network. So,
or they've got undisclosed arrangements with the card brand networks where there's switch fees across, where there's profit there that doesn't get shared. That doesn't get shared with the ISO, and then it's totally passed through.
Yeah, I mean we've seen it for years, and then you know the bigger ISOs, the super ISOs, have copied that model where they go, here's your fee schedule. You only share in these fees. And then the years go by and they're like, well, we added all these other fees, but you don't share in them.
Yeah.
And then the ISO's going, well, my merchant's going to cancel because their effective rate is at like 7 now. And they're going, well, you better lower your fees. And they do it. And they do it. And they, you know, it's a practice that bleeds through.
Well, that's an interesting one. So I had a client hit us up last week. They don't use this very often. Known them for over a decade. And they deal primarily with government agencies and, you know, like ambulance service or like fish and game, you know, like they're in states with like smaller county agencies, municipalities, like they're doing government processing for the most part. And he's with a legacy processor and they've been gobbled up by Global. And he sends me this merchant statement for an ambulance service. It's an ambulance service. The effective discount rate on average was like 9.49%.
Nice.
And they just spiked it. And basically they just see if anybody actually like complains.
Well, isn't it? It's mostly insurance companies.
And if they don't,
they're customers, so they're probably not complaining.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, the
merchant
ambulance is getting charged it, but they're probably dealing with insurance companies.
Well,
right?
The rate that I saw, the merchant account statement that I saw was $110,000 in processing for a month, and it had something like
20,000 in fees.
it was like 11,000. Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, wow, that's a huge chunk of change because when I can't remember who said it on here, but when you look at a profit margin of 20%, well, that 3% of the profit margin, right? Like it's 3% of the sale.
Right.
But when you look at the 3% against a 20% profit margin, now look at 10% against whatever their profit margin
That was
is.
Victoria Soltez.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was Victoria. So it was really interesting to me that you're seeing this kind of stuff. And, the first question I asked was there a statement message? And he was like, even if there wasn't a statement message, it doesn't matter. He's like, this is just like highway robbery,
Well, I've got one that's even worse. Is that gas company. He signed up with somebody like 15 years ago. They got bought and sold a million times, and it was weird because it ended up with TSIS, but it was a first data agreement. I don't know how that works. I don't know if they re-apped him or whatever, but he somehow got a portal at one point, and they're sending the statement messages to his portal, and he's at like 12%.
Yeah.
And he's a gas company, and he's processing like 80, 90K, just a small gas company in the Midwest, private. And he's going, well, they're like, well, we gave statement messages. And I'm going, well, hold on. I'd never even logged into the portal. You know that I'm not getting these. The problem that we have, of course, is the agreements. These, the Fiserv program guide is a very draconian agreement. It says, basically, we get to do whatever we want.
Yeah, but that's the crazy thing to me is they do all of these things, and a lot of time it's portfolio wide. I don't know how they select how they're doing it, or if it's incremental and it's just on a schedule. But I look at it and go, you guys just don't really care about whether or not these people remain customers at all. It's just money today.
No, it's
only
great.
money today. Like,
they get together in their dungeon and they plan out like
it's like
let's
Star
get
Chamber.
that gas company.
Yeah.
Let's get him.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it and I'm like, in the Midwest, like this guy is a vital service, this time of year. And
Right.
That's true. That's true. I didn't think about that.
And they're going like, you can say like, well, why didn't you notice? And he's like, I'm running my business.
Well, here's another thing, right?
I shouldn't have to be checking on my providers that they're not ripping me off all the fucking time.
And how does that really make sense with the idea of surcharging, right? Like, I can cut into a part of the exorbitant cost? Like, great. Like, and there are, like, I don't know, that guy should go to his legislature, personally. Like, I mean, like, that's one of those things where it's like, well, I'm allowed to surcharge, but can I surcharge my actual cost? And what would that do to my customer base, right? I mean, it's this revolving cycle. I guess probably the message of what we're talking about is anybody who is involved in this, review your contracts, review your statements. I mean, like, and I
review your merchant statements.
That's what I'm saying. Review your merchants.
Your merchants. Like if you're the ISO, you should be looking.
Oh yeah, I would be looking
because you're not necessarily going to know what these guys have
totally
put on them.
That's the problem, is that most ISOs and agents are not parties to the agreements that they're brokering. They don't have any rights except to get a piece of the profit. And generally when they make an objection, it's, well, you're getting a rev share on the increase.
Right.
Yeah, but for 2 months, like, and then like I work to like close these people, and and the crazy part is that there's so few places for merchants to get processing outside the card brand networks or the large processor networks. I mean, there's so much consolidation that goes on, right? I mean, we really only have 3 processors at this point. No, less than that. Like
2.
2. Yeah, we're down to 2. And at a certain point in time, like, there's different brands out there, but you lead up the chain and really we're at Global and Fiserv at this point. I mean, there's not much outside of that. So, you look at it and they're just really, we've got this idea of, okay, well, we'll just gouge the merchant and then they'll just go over to our competitor or maybe to us again through one of our other trade names.
There's only a couple shops in town. I remember years ago, 4 or 5, no, this is a bit longer than that. I mean, 8 years ago, TSIS went down over a 3-day weekend, it wasn't settling merchants' funds. And I'm going,
and they didn't know
what did they do with that? billions, maybe, at least billions. I was going to say got up to trillion, but maybe not. What did they do with that money? If you just even put it in a little pile over here that got interest all of a sudden over the weekend. And I'm going, well, if I'm a merchant, I didn't get my settlement over the 3-day weekend. Like, I'm going to be drinking Coors Light instead of what's better than Coors Light? Nothing, I guess. So I have to drink Natty Light now this holiday weekend.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah,
Busch Light draft.
Yeah.
I like Busch Light draft.
I like Busch Light draft too, actually. The other one was when TSYS, this is over a decade ago, but they actually built a new system and they migrated the data over allegedly. And then they lost a bunch of the data.
Yeah, they lost all the tokens and everything.
Yeah, so, man. Yeah.
So all your recurring payments.
Yeah, it all got shut off. And this was over a decade ago.
Somebody fell asleep on the delete button and slipped a finger.
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
But kind of to the point of, you've got this regulation like with the states. It's these business practices that are making the states come in.
It's making the states come in. And when you get the big consolidation, when we've been going at Visa and you get a little in there, it's like, well, how hard are you really going to go at these guys? Because they've got their tentacles in everything. Yeah. And they're not, they're not going to move unless they're forced to. Like in Europe, they got it done where interchange is 0.4.
Oh yeah, it's like nothing.
2.4.
Yeah, it's like 50 basis points. It's crazy. Like that's the thing. It's so much more competitive there, and I think part of the reason that Europe has the system it does is because really, like, we're one country here. It's the states. This is maybe why the states are moving on these issues, is because the federal government isn't going to do anything, as it's proven. Like, they've got some watchdog groups, but they unraveled the CFPB. So, and the states are really the only government actors. In Europe, you've got independent nations, but they act as one.
Right.
But they're looking to protect everybody and not really screw people. So I think that pushes the actual cost of acceptance down.
I wonder, because the issuing bank gets most of the interchange, and they're going, yeah, we need that because we're giving you guys rewards cards. Do they have as good as rewards cards as we do here in Europe? Probably.
Did we talk to Victoria about that? Do they have rewards cards?
This topic did not come up.
I would think that they would.
Yeah. Well, we Jessica and I were talking about a new proposal in the interchange settlement that would talk about cards and labeling cards, and that way merchants could see which cards, and they didn't have to do honor all cards. But I actually thought the subject matter of that was really interesting. But when I started speculating on what does this really look like in practice, it's a mess. It's a mess. Yeah, and it's impractical.
Right. It's not totally impractical though, because Visa and MasterCard are doing it at their level, assigning different interchange rates.
Yeah, but I'm a bartender and I got 30 people in front of me, and all I care about are my tips.
Yeah.
Am I really going to be able, as an employer of the bar, to be looking at the card and go, nope, can't take that one. Nope, can't take that one, right? Like, is that really going to go down?
And it's going to be, a rewards card. You have to have some, credit worthiness. And your ballers like Chris with his Amex Black and everything.
I have an Amex card, actually.
Those are the cards that you're going to be turning down because they're the more expensive ones to take.
It's interesting. I have a Wells Fargo credit card that I got in 1996 that I still have.
Wow.
And my credit limit on that is $7,200, and they've never offered to raise it, which I think is very fascinating. I don't know. They must not think much of me, but
let's face it, they're asleep at the wheel.
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah. My first credit card, I had to pay to get it, to build. It was like
that
those
speaks to your character.
It wasn't great. Well, when you have no credit and your only credit mark is one,
put in $500 and then we'll give you a credit card.
Right. Yeah, it was like that because I had no credit ever, and my only negative credit was a landlord coming after us for a security deposit. Or no, he got the security deposit. He wanted more.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a Payments Experts podcast listener. We hope to see you on the next one. We wish you a great 2026. For James Huber and Christopher Dryden, thank you and bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Payments Experts podcast. a podcast of Global Legal Law Firm. Visit us online today at globallegallawfirm.com. Matters discussed are all opinions and do not constitute legal advice. All events or likeness to real people and events is a coincidence.